A man by the name of Armin Meiwes made a post on a website known as Cannibal Cafe in 2001 where he made a huge and fairly obvious request. He wanted the chance to eat someone. He didn't want to force someone to go through with it though. He wanted someone that was willing to end their own life so that Meiwes could eat them. Surprisingly, he got a few responses, but most backed out of the deal until Bernard Brandes agreed. They met for Brandes' final dinner. He swallowed 20 sleeping pills and a bottle of cough syrup prior to being killed. Meiwes filmed the whole butcher and cooking process while Brandes was kept alive. In the end, Brandes fell unconscious due to blood loss, and Meiwes finally ended it, stabbing Brandes through the throat. Over the next 10 months, Meiwes ate about 44 pounds of the body. Meiwes was finally caught and arrested after a college student found some of his ads online. His house was searched and part of the body was found, along with the tape. Meiwes admitted to eating Brandes and showed regret for doing so. The tape was shown to court officials and select journalists, some of which required therapy after viewing. Timothy Treadwell was a bear enthusiast and documentary filmmaker. He was also the founder of the bear protection organization Grizzly People. He lived alongside the grizzly bears in Alaska. He lived this way for 13 years. On all of their outings, they would take several photographs and hours of video of the bears and wildlife that they witnessed. On October 6, 2003, Timothy and his girlfriend, Amy Hungenard, went out on one of these expeditions. You see, many people criticize the two for a lack of safety when dealing with animals such as grizzly bears. This is most likely the reason why that they were attacked by a 28-year-old brown bear. Both Treadwell and Hungenard were killed and almost fully eaten by the bear, all while the cameras were still rolling. The bear was later found and the stomach was examined, and sure enough, the contents of human remains and clothing were found. Christene Chubbuck was a journalist for WXLT-TV. She faced signs and symptoms of depression and explained to her family about her struggles of depression and suicidal tendencies. Eventually, she approached her supervisor and requested to do a story on the topic of suicide. Her story was approved, and she spent the next weeks talking to psychologists and police officers while researching. During the morning broadcast of July 15, 1974, Chubbuck opened the newscast, covering 3 national stories and a shooting from the previous day at a local bar. As the film reel for the story jammed, the camera stayed on Chubbuck. With the camera still on her, she said these last words. She pulled out a revolver and the broadcast faded to black, with a public service announcement following afterward. Viewers at home were obviously shocked and others confused, calling the station and asking if it was all staged. Following the incident, recordings were either destroyed or locked away at the request of Chubbuck's family, never to be released. Osama Bin Laden was the leader of the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda, the group responsible for the 9/11 terrorist attacks. On May 2, 2011, the United States enacted an operation that would end the 10-year search for Bin Laden. The raid on Bin Laden's compound was a success, and Bin Laden was buried at sea less than 24 hours after his death. Following his death, a U.S. official was cited as saying that there were 3 sets of photographs of Bin Laden that existed. They are said to contain photos of the body, the raid itself, and photos of the aftermath, as well as the others that were killed. A debate on whether these photos should or shouldn't be released took place. Those that supported their release argued that the photos should be considered public records and would prove that Bin Laden was dead, preventing conspiracy theories. Many in opposition, however, believed that the photos would spark an anti-American stigma within the Middle East. It was decided not to release the photos as former President Obama stated, quote, "We don't trot out this stuff as trophies. We don't need to spike the football." The Kenan Barbi murders is the name given to the case of Carla Homolika and Paul Bernardo, on trial for the rape and murders of 3 girls. Homolika and Bernardo were arrested in 1993. Bernardo was convicted and received a sentence of life in prison. Homolika, however, claimed that Bernardo abused her and said that she was an unwilling participant in these crimes. With this, a plea deal was struck, reducing her sentence to 12 years in exchange for a guilty plea to the charge of manslaughter. In the courtroom, however, the audio that was presented to the jury showed that she was in fact a willing accomplice and participant in the torture. Despite this new known fact, nothing could have been done about her sentencing because the plea deal was already in place and there wasn't any grounds to break the agreement and reopen the case. The audio evidence that the jury was shown was destroyed immediately after the trial.